Hi guys, welcome to another episode of my pregnancy diary. So, just to give you a little recap, I started this diary in the beginning of my pregnancy and I was writing on my blog weekly entries. And I decided that now that I have a YouTube channel, I wanted to record a video reacting to these blog entries to, feel kind of remember how I was feeling, but also have the opportunity to share this with you. So the first two episodes, first trimester and second trimester, are already published here. I'm gonna link it in the description, but also somewhere on this video, so you can have, an overview of how everything started, how I found out I was pregnant, how was my second trimester. And today I'm gonna share very briefly how was my third trimester, because I feel like this was the fastest period of my pregnancy. You were really close to giving birth. You were huge, and everything went really fast. You're gonna understand why things were a little bit rushed. And Leon was born at week 37. So let's dive into it. So let's start with week 28 and week 29. This is a combined post called papaya. Basically, at this stage of pregnancy, your baby has the size of a papaya. And being Brazilian, papaya touches my heart. It's my favorite fruit. So it felt cool to have a baby the size of a papaya. And at this week, I basically wrote that tiredness is hitting me, At week 28, you were really big already, and climbing, no, I wasn't climbing, obviously, but going upstairs, walking in general, everything feels harder than usual. And at this week, I started Pilates for a pregnant woman, and was really the best choice ever, because I started doing exercises to prepare my pelvic floor for the labor, and then, of course, after labor, the whole labor experience, and after postpartum. And I also had opportunity to talk to other moms, and I actually made a friend in this class, and we are friends until now. Actually, funny story, our babies were born in the same day, in the same morning, in the same hospital, in the same way. So it's funny that we have this very strong connection between Leon and Matilda. So yeah, soulmates maybe. This week is all about, starting Pilates, and I also shared some pictures of our camping in Sweden, which I mentioned on the video before. We went camping for a weekend, and I felt like that was the very last time I could go camping in maybe 2 years, because with a small kid after, it's going to be hard. But it was really cool. I love going camping in Sweden because you can basically camp anywhere, of course not in private property, but anywhere in the nature, respecting the nature and being clean, basically not leaving any trash behind. You can stay at night. So we did that, and it was really, really special memories. Week 30 weeks with you. Oh my God, at this time, reality really hits me. In 10 weeks, I'm gonna meet you. Eventually, it was in 7 weeks, but we'll get there. Okay. A lot of things happening at week 30. First of all, we went to Poland for a baptism. So it was funny. I was flying and I wanted to hide my belly because I knew if somebody saw my belly, they would question the week that I am. I was still on week 30, so still fine to travel. But by the size of my belly, I think I looked more advanced in the pregnancy, big boy coming. But yeah, I was hiding with huge shirts and dresses. It worked. I don't think I was successful with hiding it, but successful with flying without issues. I also wrote here that I felt like I was more sensitive to smells at this stage lately. I felt like I had a different smell for some reason. It was also the week I went to a music festival, very famous here in Denmark, called Roskilde Festival. And at this week I gained 13 kilos so far since the beginning of the pregnancy to week 30. I measured myself and I gained 13 kilos. And we painted your room, Leon. We painted it green, of course. It was also the last week, probably I was going to the gym. I have a picture in the gym where I look huge. I'm gonna show you guys. Still going, I'm impressed. And week 33. Week 33 was the week when things started to change in a sense that I knew that my labor was coming. And it was just around the corner, let's say it. Because it was around this time when I was having a lot of different opinions about the size of my baby. So I did different ultrasounds, different doctor consultations, midwives measurements, and they were all different from each other. And I was like getting stressed about it. But I knew that most probably I would have to induce my labor earlier than the due date so I would have a higher chance of having a normal labor without complications. So around that week, I had these strong thoughts in my mind. And I also knew that in 3 weeks, I would be out of work. I would have these 4 weeks of preparation at home, because in Denmark, you actually stop working 1 month before your due date. So, it's actually a great initiative because I cannot imagine women working around that age, around that time. Well, mostly do in other countries, but here it's really the time that you can get things done. The room, the bags, and you have cooking food, freezing food. There's so many things you can do in advance, and this time is really precious. Also to rest, because you're so tired around this time. So for me, week 33 was about, this starting to prepare for labor. So I started studying the topic, and a book that really helped me a lot, it's called Hypnobirthing. It's a book that gives you a lot of tips on how to, let's say, behave once your labor starts, but also gives you the background of scientifically how labor works, how your body is giving the signals that it's time, and so on, how your partner can help you, breathing techniques. So this book was really, eye-opening. It gave me a lot of hope that I could have a normal labor following these tips that the book gives you. So if you are someone who is considering to have a normal labor and you want to go through that, this book helps a lot. Week 34, watermelon. So at week 34, my belly had the size of a watermelon. It was also the week when I had a second glucose test to see if I was having pregnancy diabetes, because according to the ultrasounds, my baby was huge, way beyond the curve. So the hospital wanted to check if pregnancy, diabetes during pregnancy could be one of the reasons for that, but the test was negative. It was also that week when I went to the hospital and we started working on a birth plan, because we would probably have to induce it. And I was like conflicting around, okay, inducing labor. I heard so many stories of women that induced labor, and it turns out you end up having 2 labors, like the attempt to have a normal labor and then the C-section. That is the final outcome. And I was like, you know what? If I might end up having a C-section anyways, why not scheduling it? My Brazilian mindset. But at the same time, after reading the books and watching the stories of many normal labors, I was like, I really want to try, because it would be the best for me and the best for the baby as well. So yeah, it was a week that I was really in conflict around this topic. By the way, in Denmark, they will always kind of push you to have a normal labor as a number 1 option. Probably if you really want to have a C-section, you can convince them, but you need to have arguments for that. In the end of the day, it's your body, so you should be able to decide. But the majority of women here, they go through normal labor and they only end up having a C-section when it's an emergency, or it's a pregnancy with complications, and then it's a different story. I don't know much about it, so I'm just sharing my case here. So the number 1 option, we decided to induce labor at week 37. And the next weeks is kind of, this roller coaster of knowing, okay, it's happening sooner than expected. I don't have so much time anymore, you know. Week 35, I'm officially home. So, and that was the week that I knew, okay, I need to get things done here because time is out basically. We bought a freezer, a huge freezer. So I started preparing food for the postpartum. I knew we wouldn't have food, we wouldn't have help in terms of cooking. So I wanted to have a lot of frozen food for us to, you know, to eat. And I cooked a lot of stuff like beans, butter chicken, lasagna, escondidinho, chicken soup, a lot of comfort food because, you know, after labor I would be so exhausted that it would be nice to have some comfort food. So that's what I was doing. I was also washing all the clothes that we got for Leon from friends, secondhand stuff from other babies, and I was just making sure everything is ready. I was also preparing the hospital bags, cleaning the house, you know, as much as I could because at this time I was so tired already. What else? Yeah, a lot of back pain around this time as well because, you know, your gravity, the center of gravity in your body changed. You suddenly have a huge watermelon. So, of course, you have a lot of back pain. I wrote here that I am shocked every time I pass around the mirror and I look at myself. I'm like, whoa. Every day my belly was growing bigger and bigger. It was shocking to see, really, guys. Now, week 36, that's the last week where I wrote about my pregnancy because on week 37, Leon was born. And there will be an entire video about week 37, labor, and everything that happened. So let's just go through the last week of my pregnancy. Week 36 was the week when I knew exactly when we would start inducing the labor. So it was a mindset shift. Suddenly, the day I went to the hospital to talk to the gynecologist, to the OBGYN, the obstetrician, whatever, the doctor that is responsible for you during pregnancy. She explained me how the induction would work, what kind of tablets I would be taking, and possible side effects and things that I would feel in the next days. And when we would start it, and suddenly things got really, really real. I remember crying so much on my way back home from the hospital. I was driving by myself because my partner couldn't come to the hospital with me that day. And I just played a music that was kind of my pregnancy song. And I was listening to that and crying the entire way home. I was like, part of me was saying that this didn't feel right because I was rushing my baby out of me. Maybe he wanted to stay longer. And for, I don't know, technical reasons, we wanted to rush his way out. Didn't feel right. So I cried so much. But at the same time, I was rational. And I knew that that was a medical opinion, not from one doctor, but different doctors. And somehow I wanted to believe that that was the right decision. And well, there was no way out. I made up my mind. I wanted to induce it. So we had a date on week 37. I would go to the hospital Monday, 7 a.m., started taking the pills. And I will share the story later, but on week 36, I knew what was coming. So it was kind of a farewell pregnancy. I got really emotional with my belly and kind of saying goodbye, you know, but in a way relieved because it's really hard these last weeks. You get really heavy, you kind of feel useless, you cannot get things done. So it's kind of a time to really rest and connect with your baby and prepare yourself mentally for what is coming and try to sleep as much as you can because everything is gonna change after the baby is out. Yeah, so this week 36 is when I wrote about everything that is gonna happen, what is our birth plan. We decided to follow the hypnobirthing techniques that we learned from the book, and we wrote that on our birth plan. We spoke to the doctors, we knew what was gonna happen, I knew the risks. But also when you induce labor, it can go so many ways. So at this point, I didn't know if it would turn out good or bad. I just went with it. But it was a very emotional week, and I was trying to do things that made me happy. I was going to the beach almost every day. I was meeting my friends for the last time pregnant. And yeah, I don't know. All in all, the third trimester went super fast. It was only 10 weeks, but it's like 2.5 months, right? A lot happened, but really, really fast. A lot of visits to doctors, a lot of ultrasounds, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of worries, but everything turned out the way it was supposed to be. And Leon was born on week 37 on August 21st. And I'm gonna talk about it on my next video. Hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching until now, because it's been a journey, right? Yeah. Bye.